Hi, everybody. I just want to welcome you to this interview with the beautiful Valentina Borbone. Valentina is the director of the Banter Group, which is a marketing agency. And Valentina is a speaker across stages across the nation. We've both got the name Val, which is kind of cool. And sometimes we both have curly hair, which is kind of cool too. So we've hit it off really well. Val, do you just want to make mention of some of the other things that you do in your day today?
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for having me here with you this morning. So a little bit about other roles that I have. I'm part of the International Social Media Association as an industry advisor, so I do get to hear about all the legislative changes that are being discussed around privacy and how we act and behave. And I've also taught digital marketing since 2008. So it's been a very long time that I've been in this game and love sharing that knowledge and seeing people take on skills in this space.
Wow. Wow, that's intense, and like I think you're doing things that most of us find magic. Most of us don't understand, which is incredible. And the reason I'm doing this interview with you today, because you so graciously agreed, so thank you, but also because what I'm finding out there during these challenging and changing times is that a lot of companies, maybe not the larger companies with all these giant resources, some of the smaller companies, some of the smaller independents, and there's so many of those around at the moment, are kind of scrambling, going, hang on, what do I do? What's most important right now? How do I change up my business? I know for my company at Timms, we've had some rapid changes in the last 6 weeks, including going virtually paperless. And this is something that, we've talked about for years, but it's just gone bam and it's happened all of a sudden. So now things that were suddenly relevant just even 3 months ago, like making sure, mail outs are going out to databases and letterbox drops are happening, have instantly stopped. And so I think it's become really relevant that companies rapidly change up what they're doing, and digital is the way to go. So can we maybe start by asking the question, Valentina, what are some of the things that you have rapidly changed up in your digital marketing company just in the last sort of 6 to 8 weeks?
Well, I'm super fortunate that I've been in digital for such a long time that even when I started Banter, we actually started as a complete remote-based organisation in that we had the capability to be remote from the moment we opened the door. We love having our office. We're a collaborative environment and creative agency, so we need to kind of be together and bounce those ideas off each other, but we were digital right from that start. So changes that I've had to make, I'm very fortunate, have been limited. I'm actually finding I spend more time with my team in our morning whip together because we're forcing that every day as opposed to walking into our office every day and being a little bit more casual about our communication and our approach. But I would highly recommend that any business has to, if they haven't already in the last sort of 2 months, is look at how does the practice of not being digital actually hinder your ability to do your day-to-day job and do it efficiently as well. So that for me is not just working from home, but having a conducive work from home environment that is not disruptive, that is not distracting. I have a home office and I can't stand being there. I'm constantly looking out the window thinking, oh, wouldn't that be nice to do that? So many shiny things when you're at home.
Yeah.
That I had to really create an office environment where there almost was no view to my garden.
Yeah.
And from that paper-based system as well, we've always had a cloud-based organisation. So we use Google Drive, we use Gmail as our primary email platform. We do not have servers. We do not have a filing cabinet. We have client folders and very little gets printed because it is digital. So I think the ones that are going to survive, even looking forward, is to say, what is the behaviour of the customer and what do they need from us? So going back to your point, Valerie, is a really good one, printed mailers going out. I received one this week in my own mailbox thinking, really, is that the best you can do, an A4 printed piece of paper that's come off your inkjet printer? There's a different expectation.
I agree, and I think those days are gone. And I guess to our audience, our listener, I just want to say, if you're still doing that, it's really time to start thinking and outsourcing and working out what else you can be doing, because I do believe that the real estate industry has been clinging on to the same olds that, and I've been doing this for 20 years. Like, and there's
Yeah.
still some agencies out there that I'm seeing putting the same thing in letterboxes they were 20 years ago from the inkjet printer. And admittedly, I think some of even my company's thinking has been old school, in that we just didn't want to let go of the letterbox drops and the mail outs going into people's letterboxes. And I think we've just had to rapidly rethink that. So it's such a fabulous opportunity to force us all into today's age, into the digital age. So let's maybe touch firstly on, for real estate agents out there who are just going, okay, what do I do now that I can't go door knocking at the moment and put things in people's letterboxes? How am I reaching people? How would you recommend they reach their target audience?
Absolutely. So every target audience is different. If we're talking about, let's say, a 30-year-old versus a 75-year-old, those channels are going to be really different. So the first thing I'd say to an agent and an agency is review who your customers really are. You want vendors, I get that. The buyers will come if you've got the stock. So if we're looking at gaining more vendors and having that positioning, you need to find out, where are these customers? For the older generation, that might be the bowling club, and that might be community groups, and that might be volunteer groups. And you need visibility in those groups if you want to influence those people. And equally, if you're looking at a younger audience, where do they get their information and their knowledge from? Now, in saying that, a younger generation, yes, they're going to be digital, but where in digital is that?
Yeah.
They're just hanging out on Google? No, they're not just hanging out on Google. They're using that to direct them to where they want to go. But also, our 70-plus-year-olds aren't necessarily the ones making the decisions in property anymore. It can sometimes, and most likely, be their mid-40s, late 40s, early 50s children who are actually taking care of mum and dad and saying, it might be time to go into assisted care or into a nursing home environment, depending on their health. So we're actually trying to influence a different generation altogether to reach our 70 plus. And our 30-year-olds, well, they're still being influenced by parents who are helping them get on the property ladder a lot of the time. So how do we influence the parent as well as influencing a young person? So that's where some of your research has to come into play, to say, where are these people? What are they doing? But are they being influenced in that place? So, let's just say TikTok, for the sake of the coolest social media channel that exists. Are 30-year-olds on TikTok? God, I hope not. And if they are they being influenced to buy and sell property while they're there? I'd probably hasten no. They're too busy, mixing up some tunes and putting their videos together and showing their moves, but they're not sitting there going, I wonder if I should contact the bank and take out a significant life loan while I'm watching my video mix. It's just not going to happen. So you've got to consider the channels and the purpose, and that will help you make a good decision. So whilst TikTok, perhaps not, let's talk Instagram. Something quite different for young people. The younger ones, they're moving away from Facebook, mostly because mum and dad are there. And that happened 6-7 years ago. This didn't happen in the last 3 months. But we still have 16 million people on Facebook, so let's not get that wrong. But Instagram, being very visual, is a great way of inspiring people. They look at the content because it's exciting. They don't have to feel like everything that they do on that platform is being tracked by their friends or their families. So they find that platform a lot more immersive. So that, compared to LinkedIn, again, whole other social channel, and not necessarily where people are making those buying decisions. So I think it really comes down to agents to say, is this me? Is that where my audience are? And I have to be there. Now, in saying that, I love my digital. Anyone that's seen me speak knows that I've been in this for a long time. It's hard to let go of. But it doesn't mean that your traditional channels are 100% dead. So, for example, going into a letterbox drop in an over 55s retirement environment, that might actually be a safe medium, or going into a printed newspaper that still does the rounds and gets distributed. If I ask my average fellow on the street if they still buy or read the newspaper, the answer is largely no. So I'm asking who is, and only advertise for the purpose of that customer, rather than thinking that's the best channel I had. Because 20 years ago, newspapers were great. They're just not as great as they used to be.
I agree. I think there are there are definitely reasons for all of those channels, but I guess as agents and as an agency, you've kind of got to look at what's going to get the best return on investment. So, from what you've said so far, community sponsorships and getting in the community is still critical. Obviously, working out your mediums that you're going to be using. So Insta's great for visual, Facebook's great for the parents, which I am one of those, so I'm in that age group.
I'm with you.
Yeah. And then of course LinkedIn is probably more of a business networking kind of platform. Would that be right?
Absolutely right. So you mentioned one key thing, which was the return on investment. So I'll get to that as well. But LinkedIn is a B2B networking platform. It's a social platform, but not in the same way that Facebook and Insta or TikTok actually work. And I think that's where a lot of people have gotten confused, that it's considered social, but it's actually networking. And I'm not networking for my hair care and my face cream and my day-to-day essentials. I'm networking from a business environment to be able to say, connecting with you, for example, connecting with amazing speakers and other high-profile leadership individuals in different categories. So why would I go there to go, the family home? Yes, I think I'll consider that on LinkedIn. No, I'm there from my business sense. I'm not there from my personal life. My business sense, even if I was an investor, I'm not necessarily looking for the individual property, but what I am looking for is the person I'm going to deal with. So if I'm coming to look for the trustworthiness, the runs on the board, the experienced team, I want a really solid background in the agent that I'm going to deal with when it comes to investment property. And that's when I'm going to go to LinkedIn to go, who is this Valerie Timms lady? And is she all that? Because her website is of course going to be great. No one's going to put up a dreadful website or a really bad review on purpose. So they're coming to validate you and validate you as an individual and as a team member. So look at it like your digital CV. It's a really good description to say, this is me, this is what I stand for, this is my business profile as a person, and if you would like to engage with me, then here I am, as opposed to going, rent roll, this is what we've got available this week. Yeah, that's not work. So your other great comment, the return on investment, this is where so many people get marketing wrong. They go out there with this scattergun approach and go, I'm going to try a bit of this and a bit of that, so not all my eggs in one basket, but they're not actually measuring how any of this is working. So when I hear people say, yeah, but social doesn't work, my first question is, well, what is it that you think social is going to do? And are you actually measuring it for the right reason? So I turn that on its head and say, well, how do you tell me that your newspaper ad worked? You happily put, let's call it flat numbers, $1,000 worth of print media for 2 ads. How do you know that that did anything? And they just stare at me like they can't actually answer that. And I'm like, so you're going to hang out Facebook for accountability because you didn't get a single phone call from Facebook, but how do you know you didn't? In the same way you don't know that the newspaper ad worked. So I think people, agents and agencies really have to assess, how am I going to know if this worked? And there's great ways to tell you how that worked, but they aren't putting measurements in place. So one thing that you can do is called call tracking, for example. Now, a lot of people don't do this and it's really inexpensive. And call tracking simply means that every ad you put out there has a unique phone number on that ad. So when the number rings, you know that it's come from that newspaper ad, that Facebook ad, because one big thing that digital has done that's changed marketing considerably is I don't need to remember things anymore. I'm just going to, I've heard of Valerie Timms, of course. I've seen signboards. I've seen you in the paper. But the moment I need to ring you, my behaviour is going to be, Google,
Google.
search Valerie Timms, and call the number that's right in front of me. I don't need to remember it. I'm not going to save it to my phone the first time, most likely. And on top of that, I'm not going to recognise if that phone number on Google is any different to the side of your bus going down the road, the business card that you handed me at some event. I'm not going to take any notice. We don't do that anymore. So we don't need the equity in one phone number. So why not have multiple numbers on everything? It makes it really easy to track, well, what's actually working. Now, automotive dealerships do this all the time. You know, we've got, let's just call it Toyota over here, but you've got individual suburbs and different places to go to Toyota. Every single one of those dealerships has a different phone number.
That's a fantastic idea.
To me, it's so easy, and it's actually really inexpensive. So, you know, there's an old adage in marketing, my marketing's working, 80% of my marketing's working, or 20% is, I just don't know which 80, 20%. Yeah. So everyone does everything, keeps doing it, and we run off gut feelings, and gut feelings are wrong. We have to focus on real behaviour and data that supports the gut feeling. Have a gut feeling, just go and validate it with some data.
Yeah, great. Years ago, I saw a speaker, and he said, like, you know, this was probably 7 years ago, you have to start digital now. Otherwise you're going to be left behind. What would you say to an agent or an agency who is only just starting on this track, in terms of how long it's going to take, and do they just keep pushing ahead?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's never too late to get digital, that's for sure. I'm pretty sure I've seen more companies scramble in the last 2 months than I ever have to get there. But the best thing to do is just stay focused and get the job done. So start a digital footprint, and a good place to start, Google search yourself and see what's out there. And you need to then tidy up what it is that people are seeing, both imagery, video, landing pages, company profiles. For example, when I first did this many years ago, I realised that the number one thing on Google was me signing a petition to keep Australia selling fireworks. Yeah, okay, we can get that off page one, that'd be awesome. So I would say just stay focused and don't feel disillusioned that, you know, you're behind the 8 ball, because this gives you a chance to actually start way ahead with good content, rather than, oh dear, I've now got to fix all of this previous work that I've done. So I would definitely say having a social profile helps, and picking the right platforms for that profile as well. If your audience isn't on Instagram, who are you talking to? So make sure that you're on the platforms where your audiences are, and that you're spending your time in the environments that your audiences are as well. So like I said, community groups, being present, being active. People buy from people that they like. Definitely having a website. A website is not difficult to have built these days, particularly for an agent who simply wants to have a professional presence. But consider as well, a lot of people do build really inexpensive websites, and usually what inexpensive means, not all the time, that it can't be found by Google.
Right.
You're not building a website with SEO, search engine optimization, in place, and that's exactly what it means, search engine optimization. If you don't build it for a search engine, the search engines aren't going to find it. Now that's building a needle in a haystack. You're expecting people to find it, but you're not actually building it in a way for, let's say, Google to index you and show you as a result to a search. So SEO is a huge part of getting a website right. That doesn't have to be expensive, but I've seen way too many people who get a cheap quote, and what they don't know is that that doesn't include a single bit of making it optimized so it looks good, just is never going to be found. So as long as that's your objective and your purpose,
absolutely.
I don't think anyone would say that that's what they're building their website for.
And for those of us who are slightly older, like, you know, we'll remember the yellow pages, right?
Yeah.
I remember paying to put ads in the yellow pages, and those days are just simply gone.
Yeah.
What we have online is just, it's our digital footprint. And
right.
So what would you say to potentially an agency? So we talked about agents and maybe the platforms. Actually, before we do that, what do you think we should be putting on those platforms? So are we videoing ourselves in a property? Are we putting up articles? What are we putting out there?
Great question. So one of the things that we need to remember when it comes to content is the content is for the customer, not the business. And that's kind of where we've gotten a little lost lately. And as a real estate agent, it's really difficult because every industry is the same. You have to become a marketer. You have to understand how these platforms behave. What are the algorithms behind them that make them successful? And what are the behaviors of customers so that you know what content we want? So when you said, should we be putting video on there? Yes, you should, because consumers want video. It's easier, it's quicker, it's more efficient. It's easy for me to digest video than it is to read a wonderful 30-page white paper. Who wants to do that? So if you can deliver the content in formats that work, and again, behaviour comes into this to say, do I want to watch a 2-hour update on property? God, no. Am I up for small bite-sized chunks of content? Yes. Give it to me in 5 and 10 minutes. Give me blogs that I can read, and blogs should be around 1,200 words long. In fact, the longer the blog, the better it is for someone like Google. But it has to have depth. So should you be doing selfies? A little, because it shows at least a bit of personality and says, hey, this is who I am, or this is me in a certain environment. But it all has to be valuable content to a customer. So if you're going to be putting anything out there on your social, on your website, I want to know what's relevant to me. So what are you going to tell me about my local community? I'm in the Southern Highlands. I saw as well that we're going to have one of the highest hit unemployment regions in the state of New South Wales off the back of COVID-19. So what does that mean for property? What does that mean for people buying and selling, or if there's a big investment portfolio that happens in the Highlands? What does that mean based on the current interest rates? And if I'm in retirement versus a young person, and our region is very heavily hit from tourism and being shut down in that way, what impacts are these on me to help me make a better decision when it comes to property? So if I'm not in the market, but you're targeting a 45-year-old nearly tomorrow, if you're going to target me, let's say for an investment property, sell me the idea of why investment is perfect now, not 5 years ago. Show me what it looked like 5 years ago. Show me why it's different now. Help me make a good decision. Almost convince me before I've even thought that this is what I want to do. Convince me that this is what I want to do now.
Yeah, great.
It's, saying on your website particularly because, COVID has made day-to-day changes, particularly in property. How many people can be in an open home, virtual tours, virtual walkthroughs, everything like that. So day-to-day updates on safety, on compliance, on trust. Give me confidence that you know exactly what got announced an hour ago and that you're acting on that rather than, the Ruby Princess.
Yeah.
Knew for how long and still released people into the community. So show me that you're on top of this game rather than telling me, hey, come to an open home, and I'm thinking, but I can't. So why would you do that?
Fantastic. And it's immediacy, it's relevance, it's about agents having their finger on the pulse and then letting their consumer know that their finger's on the pulse and providing really relevant information.
Absolutely. There's so many people not just doing that. And that to me is the core basics. So if an agent really wants to stand out in their local environment, just be one step better than the next guy and you'll be one step better than the next guy.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of people doing a brilliant job out there. So I think there's a huge opportunity to do a reasonably good job with little effort.
So it's not about you wearing your super duper suit in front of your Mercedes Benz. It's about what can you genuinely offer the consumer about what's happening right now.
Look, it's an interesting comment about the Mercedes Benz because I drive a Hyundai i30. I don't really value my vehicle. It's an A to B vehicle. But if I'm an agent and selling multi-million-dollar waterfront property and they're the customers that I need to liaise with, I can tell you right now my i30 is not going to cut it. So courses courses for courses, and particularly if you're taking clients out in your vehicles, which certainly has happened before. And, I've watched the Dubai market, which in property became hiring the highest level vehicle simply for a property pickup, inspection, return customer back to their residence, as part of a collaborative partnership in property. So, if your customer is all about brand and bravado, then perhaps that is the perception of your brand that you need to put out there.
Yep.
I'd say that's a smaller part of the market rather than the general part of the market.
So targeting to your market.
Absolutely. And, I find that, my Hyundai joke is an ongoing joke because I've never valued my vehicles. I've never valued expensive badged vehicles, I should say. But what that actually means from what people have told me is that, you're just so real. You're just so not caught up in a brand. I just, my car just needs to drive, literally 10,000 kilometres every 3 months.
Yep. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not about to do that in a car that cost me $3,000 a service.
Yeah, exactly. So, Valentina, let's talk about agencies now. So let's say you're a director in a company, you've got a team that you are responsible for, taking to that next level and navigating through this. What do you think is critical right now for agency directors to be implementing, making sure they've got in their digital and websites and technology?
So I would really recommend that you take a bit of a stock take on your business to say, do I need to be doing everything and consistently the way I always have, and consolidate. So I find that most agencies are doing lots of things but doing lots of things badly, as opposed to saying, hang on, let's just get each of these right, and actually starting with that customer journey that says, what does this engagement for a customer look like, and where do I need to be with what type of content at each of those stages. So I know that email marketing is one of the best return on investment channels in digital, has been for close to eight years now, SEO being number one. So if you can get your SEO right, it means your discoverability by search engines is the number one thing that you should focus on. Number two, get customers off social media. Now, I say that because the social media giants own the data. If they change the rules, there goes every part of your contactability with them. Now, if Facebook turns around and says, you know what, Valerie Timms, it's going to cost you $50 a month to even access people on Facebook.
Ouch.
Wow. Yeah, you're going to have to make a pretty big assessment as to whether or not you're going to pay that. So getting people off social and onto your owned channels, and your owned channel is your database. It gives you the right to talk to people directly. You can personalize that content. So I'd take stock and say, am I even doing email marketing? If I am I doing it well? Am I doing it frequently? And am I doing it consistently? And is the information I'm giving people useful? Because if all you're going to send me in an email is properties we have available this month, I can do that in lots of places, and I don't need it to come from you. What I'm looking from you is why I should engage you and not the plethora of other options that I have available.
Yeah.
So taking stock, deciding and dividing, I think divide and conquer is really good. I find that in agencies, there's usually a natural person that likes email or understands it. Less people understand social, so it's an uncomfortable environment. Now, if you're not comfortable, I find people really just back away and go, oh, you know what, too hard basket. I'm trying to do real estate, not being a marketer. So this is where an agency actually might need to say, is an in-house model the best possible model? Should I bring in a freelancer? Should I bring in a part-time role? Should I use an agency? And, there are pros and cons to every one of those models. But you need to have the right expertise. In the same way that I don't do accounting, I have an accountant. I don't do numbers.
Yeah.
I outsource that. And that's where an agency might need to actually say, you know what? I'm not a marketer. I'm a real estate agent, and I need help. Because they are complex, and digital changes, technologies change, function changes, but mostly our behaviour changes. The machines that we're using, how integrated our technologies are. I'm not expecting most of my clients to even understand half of what I do. They just need to understand what I'm doing helps the end result, has a return on investment, and I can demonstrate that. But if I was to talk to you about all the back end stuff that we do, the tech side, I see people just glaze over. So
Yeah,
I think,
absolutely.
yeah. And I think agencies need to be really real about it. They're trying to do everything. I say this in every industry, not just real estate, but everyone's scrambling. And, particularly when it comes to social, something I feel really passionate about is we tend to give social to an office admin. And we expect that office admin to be an administrator, that's right, but they also need to be a designer, a photographer, a copywriter, and a marketer. Don't forget, you need to understand algorithms, media buying, how to report, what all your metrics mean, and how, of course, that relates to the business. And I sit there going, really? You want, let's call it a 5-year out of school admin to do all of that? Oh, yeah, without any formal training, without any support network. And then we hang them out to dry when we say, well, I'm not really getting a return out of social. And it's like, really? Did you need to do that for me to tell you that?
100%, I agree. And, I remember back in the day before we even had the internet to put properties on, I've been in real estate that long, but I've seen the learning curve has just accelerated so incredibly. And, I think, if I can say anything to our listeners, like if you're great at listing and selling real estate, what's it going to cost you to become a social media expert? Are you still going to be listing and selling real estate? And sometimes outsourcing is just the smartest thing to do.
Absolutely. And look, to put that into context, if every real estate agent was a great photographer for social, why aren't you doing all your own property photography?
Yep.
I mean, if you've got that skill, I'm not really sure why you need photographers to come in with different angled lenses and different lighting, and they always, they'll come at sunrise or they'll come at sunset so they can capture different things, and they know where to stand and they know about composition. If we all had this skill, not sure what photographers actually do as a job. And this is what I think gets missed. Yeah. We rely on, some people say, oh, I'm not going to invest all this money for 3 seconds on social. It's like, okay, that's fine. If you want to cut out the majority of where your market spends their time on media, wow, I'm not sure you should be in business. We need to understand what our media consumption habits are. That's looking at free-to-air TV versus commercial radio versus digital radio versus subscription TV, newspapers, social media. We're spending, on average, 2.5 hours on social media daily. 2.5 hours. When are we doing this? Because we're tired, we're working long hours. Don't forget, we still consume other media.
Yeah.
You need to see where the customer is, and you need to deliver on their expectation. And their expectation is that if you're going to be on social, get it right, make it look good, put some effort in. Otherwise, I've got thousands of accounts to follow. Not sure why I need to follow a bad one.
Yeah, true. So, Valentina, we'll finish up soon, but just one point. You really, I really found the point of one day all this data we've got on social may not be available to us, and then we need to drive traffic to our own database. What are 3 of the best ways to drive traffic to your own database?
Excellent question. So, number 1, a pop-up on your website. So that's a little box that appears when someone visits the site that says, firstly, value proposition. Why am I going to give you my data? What are you going to give me? And what are you going to do with my data? So data privacy obviously is pretty big in Australia. We've got strict rules here, even compared to globally. So not just saying, sign up to our newsletter.
Yeah.
So how often do I get that? Are you going to do it every day? Because I don't want daily. Do I get preferences? If I'm only interested in investment property, do I want to see what's up for auction? Do I want to put in values of property? So giving people choice with their data. But first, number 1, a pop-up on the website, as well as having not just the pop-up, but also in the footer of your site, sign up to receive, but tell me what I'm receiving and tell me why I'm going to give you my data to do that. Number 2, social media. It's bizarre, but put up a post that says, Never miss an update or social activity by signing up to our newsletter. Now, the reason that that works is because email is on my terms as a customer. Social is on your terms. So if I don't want to be on social for 3 or 4 days, I might miss a lot of that activity. But you could summarize that in an email, and then I can sit down with my cup of tea and digest it when I'm ready, as opposed to quick, it's every day I need to do this catch up. So doing that on a social post as well. Number 3, ask your customer. You guys are face to face in real estate. You are meeting with your clients, you're speaking to them all the time. Just ask, would you like me to add you to our database? It goes out every month. It's just short. It's this, it's that. Again, value proposition. And then when they say yes, please just actually add their name. Don't just take the yes over the phone. Actually have to add them to a database. You know, they're the 3 simplest things. And usually when people are given a choice like that, they will say yes. If they choose to unsubscribe, because some people also feel comfortable about no, that's okay. Yeah. It means that they're not necessarily as sticky on that channel, or they're going to get their information from somewhere else. But it's also part of that relationship. If it's really early on and people jump in the first 10 minutes, hey, should I put you on my database? That just feels spammy.
Yeah.
And I haven't built any rapport with you to know why I should be there. I feel like that in the retail sector all the time. I buy one random product and, would you like to join our loyalty program? I'm like, no.
Or have we got your email? No.
And did you want to join? No. You know, I bought my daughter's a horse riding shirt, and she's only 11, and they're like, would you like to join the database? I'm like, how often do you think I'm going to come into this horse place? No. How about no?
It was a good try. Absolute gold. So Valentina, just in summary, is there anything you want to say for this challenging time in the world, for our consumer, our listeners?
Well, the one thing I would say is, don't try and do everything. It's difficult, it's time consuming, and not everyone has that skill. So pick one thing and get really good at it. Master it so that it becomes your habit, and then move on to something new. If you try and do 10 new things at once, you'll do none of them well. You'll feel frustrated. You'll feel like none of it's actually working, and you'll probably drop all the activities. So I'd say get really comfortable with email and talking about email and sending out communications, then move on to social or vice versa. But pick one thing at a time and just take it a little easy. I think there's a lot of pressure on us at the moment to be great at everything. Adapting to working from home apparently is really easy, and becoming a school teacher, just add it to my repertoire. It's ridiculous how we're supposed to be managing without collapsing. I know everyone's talking about, oh, we're going to have this mental health breakdown. We are having a mental health breakdown as a society, and I feel really grateful to all those counsellors and psychotherapists out there who are going to help us pick up these pieces, because this is not an easy change to adapt to, and we've got to stop kicking ourselves that we're not getting it right, that we're not performing at our optimum. We're not in an optimum environment, so why do we expect that to be the end result? So take a chill pill, everyone. Try and just do a little bit at a time. Do the best that you can. We're going to come out of this. It's going to be different, sure, but it'll start to improve.
Amazing advice. And yes, be kind to ourselves, right? So
we're only human. Yeah.
Thank you. So Valentina Borbone from Banter Marketing Group, I just want to say thank you for your incredible advice, for giving your time freely, and I hope that all of our listeners get some incredible hints and tips and just inspiration from you today. Thank you.
No, it's been really great to be here. I hope everyone found something useful and took away something you can do even right now.
Thanks, Valentina.
Awesome. Thank you.